And to that piece of lieutenant that's always on his podcast, bash us, fuck him.
Attention, roll call.
That's right. Good morning, everybody. 8:05 live Eastern time, and of course, 5:05 Pacific Coast. Bright and early. Good morning, everybody. It's been a hell of a weekend. Before we segue into the topic, I just want to say I can't believe I'm blown away with the amount of support that my family has received. It's been amazing. I want to thank everyone. It's unbelievable. I don't even know what to say anymore. I'm lost for words, but I can tell you what, I have learned so much by this. You know, I always say you have to look at every experience in life and figure out what you learn by it. And what I've learned by this is that you have to have community. And thank God I have the police community. I have the military community. I have the jiu-jitsu community, the podcast community. My wife has a medical community from when she managed a dental office for 10 years. And that's what it's really about. So what I learned in this is that, yes, it's important to have money, and that's a tool. But what's more important to have a community, and we have a community amongst us. So I am overwhelmed and humbled, and thank you so much, and everyone pulling for Derek. God bless you, people. I really appreciate it. John.
Yeah, no, shout out to everybody. I mean, it's definitely amazing to watch, people come out, even people you haven't spoke to in years, and people you've kind of been at odds with and stuff like that. People really rally around something like when it comes to children, and I think, we could put our differences aside when it relates to our kids versus when it relates to us. And I think that's been humbling to watch, also been humbling to watch the amount of prayers Catholics, Christians, Muslims, Hindu, Buddhists, everybody basically coming together for the same cause. And it's unfortunate that these are the things that we do that for instead of everything. But I get it. Life's difficult. A lot of different roads. A lot of different opinions, right? Eric Adams something he always says, which I agree with. What does he say? He says, city of 8 million people and 36 million opinions. And then when you do that across the nation, I mean, he's right. You know what I mean? He's right when he says that. But it's good to see everybody rallying around. It's been truly amazing to watch. $432,000 raised in just the last few days. So shout out to everybody that's been helping. I'm just completely. I know Eric's overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed with it, and I think got to keep it going. The mission here is to get Derek back on his feet, and we're gonna do that. So let's shout out to you guys.
Yeah, like I said, I am lost for words. I'm blown away. And as I said, I was saying to my wife for the longest time, I'm like, allegedly, we put a man on the moon. Why can't we fix cancer? Before any disease, before anything in this world, I'd like to see cancer fixed. One of my close buddies, his wife, made it back from breast cancer. John, you lost your mom from breast cancer, and Sal lost his dad, and we hear it's person after person, and now it's kids. So please, we have to stay strong, and it's tough. There's only so much money you can put aside, have your family going, but this is what's important, is that we have community. And that's why I say to anyone out there, some people are loners, and that may be okay, but you have to be. That's one thing I say, the biggest takeaway from this experience is you have to be a part of some type of organization. You have to be a part of something, whether that's your church, whether it's the military, the police community, teachers. You have to be a part of something, because that's what helps you. They say it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village. It takes a community to make it through stuff like this. And, I kept it close to my chest for a year. We really wanted to protect Derek. I did feel ostracized from the police department, but I wanted to protect Derek mostly because kids, they're on YouTube and they see all this stuff. So with that being said, thank you so much, everyone. Let's stay strong. People are amazing. I am amazed by humanity. So let's get into it.
Yeah, all right. So everybody knows Andrew Cuomo, considered a political juggernaut. I think the title "disgraced governor" is in order because that's exactly what he is. He resigned in disgrace. He has entered the race for New York City mayor to absolutely nobody's surprise. I mean, because he's been campaigning for about a year. And I think it's only right that we often point out the hypocrisy of Eric Adams. And I think when you look at politicians, they're basically the same people. The only difference between Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo is Andrew Cuomo has hair and he's Italian. That's it. There's literally no difference between them. When it comes to their politics, when it comes to their stances and their takes on things, they're the exact same person. So we've shown you who Eric Adams was in 2020 and who Eric Adams is pretending to be now. And we're going to do the same exact thing for Andrew Cuomo because I think it's only right. So for us to criticize and sit here and criticize Eric Adams as being a flip-flopper and Scott Stringer and the rest of them on public safety, we have to go back to who Andrew Cuomo is on public safety. Now, to be fair, just like Eric Adams, sometimes Andrew Cuomo says the right things. But there's a big difference between saying the right thing and doing the right thing. And we're gonna walk through all that. Eric, just before we get into Cuomo's announcement, we'll bring that up first, and then we're gonna take you back in time and we're gonna go through Andrew Cuomo 2020. But before we do that, what's your overall thoughts? You hear he's entering the mayor race. What do you think, Andrew Cuomo?
Well, first of all, it's a battle of the worst for New York City at this point. There's a lot of parallels between Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams. They're both ensnared in sexual allegations. Now, don't get me wrong. I believe that there's due process. I believe these are just allegations. I believe you're innocent until proven guilty. But I am showing the parallels between the both of them. And we see epic fail. For Governor Cuomo or former Governor Cuomo, it was an epic fail during COVID. And for Eric Adams, it's an epic fail in the aftermath of COVID. So we're at this point in a city of 8.5 million people. And this is the best candidates we can get to run the most iconic city in the entire world. And it's a battle of the worst. I couldn't stop laughing, John. Not that you were wearing a tank top, when you were doing your video, but it's true. It's like, who's got a manklet? Who's got a nipple rings? This is where we come. These are the candidates for New York City. I mean, Cuomo was an epic fail, and he comes back to run, and he's actually being considered. That's the sad part. It was an epic fail. He's come back, created some distance, and we have short-term memories. That's what it is. Also, we have short-term memories to forget that his tenure during COVID was an epic fail.
So, and then just before we bring him up announcing his mayoral run, let's just highlight a couple of things. He resigns due to sexual harassment allegations, right? He resigns in disgrace over that. I don't know anyone who thinks that what happened during COVID in any way, shape, or form, whether it's the nursing homes, whether it's the hospital protocols, whether it's the social distancing protocols, whether it's the mandates. I don't know anyone who deems that as a success. The only two people I know that deem what happened during COVID as a success is Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams. And Andrew Cuomo has literally said that his actions during COVID saved New York City. He wrote a book before the pandemic was even over, like basically lauding himself about how great he was during COVID. And not only did he not write that book, well, maybe he wrote it. It was his idea to bolster himself up on the national stage, to have these press conferences every day. It was like the worst time to listen to daily press conferences of Andrew Cuomo and Bill de Blasio. It was like listening to the two dumbest idiots. And at that time, I'm like, politics can't get worse in New York. It just can't. And boy, was I wrong. But because we just doubled down on failure with Eric Adams and Kathy Hochul, Bill de Blasio and Andrew Cuomo. And, he's deeming that he saved New York City during COVID. Eric, do you think that Andrew Cuomo saved New York City during COVID?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. First of all, my father, may he rest his soul, he was my best friend. He was in a nursing home, unfortunately, was suffering from some illnesses. And, obviously it was working. It was tough to take care of him. Tough for my brother and sister working as well. And he contracted COVID in the nursing home. And I had a fight tooth and nail. I spoke about this on a prior podcast. I had a fight so hard. I knew it just by spidey senses. I knew my father didn't have much time left. And I had to bang on the glass of a nursing home for 20 minutes. I almost broke the glass for them to let me in. I went with a Tyvek suit. How ridiculous it was. Thinking about it now, right? I went with a Tyvek suit, begging, crying my eyes out, flashing my NYPD ID at the glass. I finally got in to say goodbye to my father. But was the most ridiculous thing. It was almost, he was imprisoned. They wouldn't let him out, and they wouldn't let me in. It was absolutely insane. And these are policies from who? Former Governor Cuomo.
And just a reminder, the masking, the 6 feet, the hand sanitizers, the stupid markings on the floor, they were all made up out of thin air. There was no science behind any of it. We shut down America's economy first. We shut down New York's economy. We shut down New York City's economy. And while we're doing that, this moron is cheering on the protesters. Cheering them on. I don't care. Like, there was some things he was like, oh, yeah, if they're doing burglaries, it's not good. If they're doing burglaries, no, I don't support the burglaries, but I support the protesters. And it's like, dude, stop playing both sides of the aisle. So we're going to get through it. And you're going to see Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo could be cousins. They could be this. They're the same. You don't have a choice. If your choice is Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo, you might as well throw Bill de Blasio in the mix. Because there's no choice. They're the same people. They're chameleons. Andrew Cuomo, like Eric Adams, is for and against everything. Andrew Cuomo supports the cops, but he supports Black Lives Matter. He thinks that the cops should go out and fight crime, but he's for criminal justice reform. And it's the same thing, and you're going to see that. So this is Andrew Cuomo reinventing himself. This is Andrew Cuomo announcing his run for mayor.
Hello, I'm Andrew Cuomo. Let me start by telling you what you already know. New York City is the greatest city in the world. There is no other place like it. And as in life, we have had times when we are at our shining best. And there are times when we struggle and endure great hardship. But we also know that we can handle a crisis because we have. We recently did it together through COVID. And we know that the first step towards solving a problem is having the strength, having the courage to recognize it. And we know that today our New York City is in trouble. You feel it when you walk down the street and try not to make eye contact with a mentally ill homeless person, or when the anxiety rises up in your chest as you're walking down into the subway. You see it in the empty storefronts, the graffiti, the grime, the migrant influx, the random violence. The city just feels threatening, out of control, and in crisis. These conditions exist not as an act of God, but rather as an act of our political leaders, or more precisely, the lack of intelligent action by many of our political leaders. But New Yorkers know the simple answer of what to do when there's a crisis in leadership. You lead, you act, you do. I had the honor to serve the public in every level of government. In my 20s, with my father when he was governor, with Mayor David Dinkins on homelessness, with President Bill Clinton as Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, where we worked with cities all across the nation, and as New York State Attorney General and as your governor, I know government can make a positive difference because we did. Was it easy? No. But together we achieved historic progressive accomplishments. We did things they said couldn't be done. We changed lives by setting the highest minimum wage in the nation, a 66% increase. We saved lives by enacting the toughest gun violence protection laws in America. We created new families by leading the nation in passing marriage equality.
What do you think? What do you think about Andrew Cuomo for mayor and what he's saying here?
First of all, before I go into, I'm just curious: does Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams go to Piercing Pagoda together? Do they go to get the nipple rings? Well, first of all, he might as well have said, "Well, you see that city's going into the toilet. I'm about to actually flush it down." He's going to take this right down to the toilet. This is absolutely insane that he's actually touting himself as a leading success and now put himself to run New York City, especially at this time. He's right. The subways create anxiety because it's a disaster right now. There's homelessness in the street. He's right about that. There's a lot of truths in this. He's right that the migrant crisis is out of control. He's right that the political leaders have been a disaster. What he didn't mention is that he would be a further disaster. He is by far not the person that is going to put this in place. This is just another epic fail. Even from aside his sexual allegations, again, I think those things are very, very tough to prove or disprove. I would say it's almost impossible. However, it's just you're asking yourselves in New York City, if you vote for Cuomo, you voted for the white version of Eric Adams. The only difference is Eric Adams at least is a character and he's funny. That's the only difference. But these two are moving in lockstep and they're on parallel.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny to me. Again, he comes right out swinging, touting COVID as a success when it was his largest failure, right? It was his largest failure by far, followed by public safety, right? That's when he goes right into crime. And it's like, wait, all of the problems that New York State and New York City is currently facing are because of laws that you and Eric Adams not only supported, but you were the governor and you signed into law and you cheerleaded them on. So it's laughable to me to watch this now, to watch like the flip-flopping and then to watch the media portray these two and how they portray these two. There's like a battle, you could see it. You could see the right-wing media propping up Eric Adams. Why? I have no idea. Because they're the same people. That is always questionable to me. I have no idea why the right-wing media is propping them. Because now they're both saying the same exact thing, right? So it's like they're not even politically different at this point, right? They're both pretending to be moderates. They were both far left progressives pretending to be moderates. So while Andrew Cuomo was on his let's say his pre-campaigning tour, when he was bringing his name back into the fray, and everybody's like, I think Andrew Cuomo's gearing up for a mayoral run or something. He's looking to get back into government, and that's basically what his mayoral run is, right? Pat Donahue says it here. He's like, being the governor of New York and then trying to become the mayor is like playing for the New York Yankees and then going to play for the Staten Island Ferry Hawks. Yes. However, he's trying to get back in the big leagues. So he's willing to take any contract he can get. And that's what's happening right here. Andrew Cuomo seeing this as a time to get back on the national stage to propel once again his political career, which has been a huge failure, in my opinion. An absolute huge failure. And again, he is a lifelong career politician. Outside of daddy getting him jobs, outside of working in government and getting taxpayer-funded jobs, he's done absolutely nothing. He has never been, and he's never even, and besides that, it was taxpayer-funded or a government job, he's never really been a civil servant other than an elected or appointed official. So, I mean, he's been spoon-fed his whole life. I think it's time to retire. I do. So, but he is not. So, and comes out in 2024 swinging on public safety. And Andrew Cuomo says Defund the police is the 3 dumbest words ever uttered in politics. Defund the police is the 3 dumbest words ever uttered in politics. But what did Andrew Cuomo say about defund the police in 2020?
Different schools of thought. You want to say, oh no, which do you think is the no-brainer? Is it a no-brainer to put more police, or is it a no-brainer to say defund the police? You know, they're both legitimate schools of thought.
That is smart politics. I think he's a complete moron, but it's smart politics. He put himself in a position to say, hey, I can swing this way or I can swing that way. Depending on what my constituents say, depending on where the voters go, I can defund the police or I can put more police on the street. Is this someone that we can trust that it could actually bring public safety to New York City? Because he's only going to sway to what the politics allow and what the politics want him to pander to. That's absolutely insane. The funding the police shouldn't even be on the menu. It shouldn't even be a discussion. More police, effective police, intrusive police is the only way. That is it.
So, and just think about that for a second, right? He says defunding the police. Now he says defunding the police was the 3 dumbest words ever uttered in politics. That is a true statement. High five, Andy. Boom. High five. Give your brother one too. You know, you lose a brother. But anyway, he says that. And that is a correct term, right? That is an absolute correct term. Defund the police were the 3 dumbest words ever uttered in politics. But here in 2020, on this clip in 2020, he said, who's right? More police? And in fairness to Andrew Cuomo, at this press conference, he announced that they were going to hire 500 more MTA police to combat subway crime in New York. That obviously failed because subway crime skyrocketed from this point to then, due in no small part to the legislation that he also passes as a result of his knee-jerk reaction to the political pressure he was feeling from terrorist organizations, right? So he is another willow. He's not an oak. He blows with the political winds and he says whatever it is. But he said there, defund the police is a legitimate school of thought. He said it. I didn't say it. I'm getting beat up online. People are like, "Oh, you're a propagandist. You didn't highlight that he hired the 500 cops." No, I'm like, no. I want to know why he thought in 2020 that defund the police was a legitimate school of thought. Because in 2020, I thought it was the 3 dumbest things I've ever heard in politics. Why now does he think that? What were you thinking then, Andrew? And that's the same thing. And this is what enrages me when I look at politicians. It's because you don't go backwards and say, you know what? I messed up. I was wrong. I was dead wrong. I caved to the political pressure. I wasn't looking at the situation correctly. This is what I was looking at. No, he doesn't do that. Eric Adams doesn't do that. They just pretend they've always been here. And we're supposed to forget because they treat you like mushrooms. Eric, what do you think about that? It's the 3 dumbest words. It's a legitimate school of thought. Who is this guy?
Well, again, talk about the parallels between Eric Adams and Cuomo. This is right front and stage right here, as we can see. Never do we hear from Eric Adams or former Governor Cuomo say, you know what? The experiences that we had, they were volatile times that we're just not used to. It's not normal to go through a pandemic, but here's what we've learned. And there were mistakes along the way. And we've learned from these mistakes to move forward in a better manner. That's what I want to hear. But that's not what they say. They double down on it. And that's why we never know what's Eric Adams for or against. And clearly, there's no difference when it comes to Andrew Cuomo. What is he for or what he's against? He's for whoever's going to give him votes, and he's against who's not going to give him votes. So clearly, he's not holding himself accountable, how could we actually have him hold others accountable? This is a major problem. Defund the police is moronic. It's completely idiotic. But at no point did he ever say defund the police is a big mistake, or how do we get to the point that this is actually a choice on the menu? And you're right. If you support defund the police, you're supporting Antifa, you're supporting BLM, all these factions that have driven crime, that have been anti-police, that have created all this rhetoric that led to a contributing factor to a retention problem within police departments throughout this entire country, and a recruitment problem, which is another contributing factor to public safety in this entire country.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like, just imagine being like a sergeant and you implement this dumb rule. It's dumb. You guys hate it. It's dumb. You come into work like 2 weeks later and you like start bashing the rule. It's the dumbest thing you guys ever had to do. I can't believe you guys. I'm going to fix that. Actually, let's take it back, because they're not saying they're going to fix anything. Let me take that back. I'm not saying I'm going to fix it. I'm not saying I'm going to fix it. I'm just saying how dumb it is. And you need leadership like mine to avoid mistakes like this. And you guys are looking at you like, what the hell is this guy talking about? He's the one that created the rule. And that's what's going. If you're paying attention, if you've been paying attention since 2020, you're going to see that what these guys do is they create problems. They complain about the problems. And then they pretend they're going to fix the problem, but they give no clear solution on how they're going to fix it or what they're even going to do with it. Here's another clip of Andrew Cuomo and defund the police.
This is a transformation moment across the country. People are saying it has to stop. We have to change, right? When they're saying defund the police, what are they saying? They're saying we want fundamental, basic change when it comes to policing. And they're right. They are right. They're saying Mr. Floyd, Mr. Garner, Mr. Louima, Mr. Diallo, enough is enough. So they're right. Our state legislative packages will do that. But I also believe you'll see that in every police department that is now operating. They understand they're operating in a different reality with different perceptions and different mandates. So I think you will see a shift all across police departments. I think police departments that don't hear it and don't get it are going to have a real problem. And the political leadership of that police department will have a problem, right? And those local mayors, you look at what's happening in Minneapolis now. So I think the mayor, as the elected official, they will get the message, and then it's going to be up to them whether or not their police department has done.
Moron after moron. I mean, for him to say that they're right. Oh, going back to a fundamental policing, we need to change it. Listen, any organization could always make changes at any time, and any organization should always be evaluating their particular facet to see what needs to be changed. But for him to call out the law enforcement profession as a whole is just completely reckless, irresponsible. It's an epic fail. And you can see exactly where his mindset is, because he compares Abner Louima. I don't know how you could compare the Abner Louima case to Eric Garner and George Floyd. This is apples and oranges. You can't even compare that. And the fact that we put the Eric Garner incident even into that subject matter, that's a major problem for me. That's a major red flag. He is not the candidate you want for New York City. He's not the candidate you want to run all these agencies in New York City, especially the police department, not Andrew Cuomo.
There is so much video of this dude. It's insane. We could literally be here for hours, and I didn't bring it all out, but he time and time again brings up Eric Garner, Breonna Taylor, Michael Brown, and they were all cases that the media fanned the flames of racism. George Floyd, they fanned the flames of racism. They made the death of the individual about race with absolutely zero evidence that race had to do it. And after years and years of scrutiny, court case after court case, there's not one shred or iota of evidence that race played a part in any of those cases. Now, when you look at Michael Brown, when you look at Breonna Taylor, when you look at Eric Garner, the facts of those cases were even lied about in the media. Politicians fanned the flames of anti-police hate. And that was Andrew Cuomo was doing that. That was Bill de Blasio. Eric Adams was doing that. Right? That's who was doing that. Kathy Hochul. Everybody. All the same idiots that you guys have voted for. Oh, Eric Adams got to go to the Republican Party so he can win. Why do you want Eric Adams or Andrew Cuomo anywhere around you? It's like people want to argue with me who is worse, Bill de Blasio or Eric Adams. I'm like, listen, I'm not having this conversation with you because I'm going to lose brain cells. But obviously, if you look at New York City now, it's a shell of what it was. Who do I pick? Neither. They're both morons, right? It's like these are the best that New York has to come up with. Oh no, Curtis Lewa. It's like, oh, there's nobody else. New York isn't made up of billionaires. There's not people that lead thousands of people. There's not fire chiefs, police chiefs. There's not anybody out here that we could find, teachers, principals, CEOs, CFOs. We can't find anybody to lead New York City that's competent. What did Curtis Lewa do? Oh, Curtis Lewa's got a radio show. Okay. He's got the Guardian Angel. Oh, so he's a gang leader. Okay. And Eric Adams, what did he do? Politician his whole life. Politician his entire life. Came into the police department with an agenda, a political agenda. A political agenda to take over New York City. Great story. Love it. It's a great movie. It's going to be a great book. Crumbs. Check it out. It's a great, great story. Andrew Cuomo. His father, right? My mother loved Mario Cuomo. Mario Cuomo actually helped my father get benefits from the VA after late 90s, after years and years and years of never having any benefits from the VA. My mother loved him, right? But I'm going to tell the truth. He's not his dad. And New York ain't the New York it was, and Democrats ain't the Democrats that they were, right? They're not for the working class. They're like Marlon brought it up the other day. They're elitists. Eric Adams, Andrew Cuomo, elitists. Republican Party Eric Adams or Republican Party Andrew Cuomo or that whichever one's Democrat, doesn't matter. You don't have a choice. If these are your choices, you're voting one chameleon or the other. One chameleon or the other. Here he said, I agree with the defund the policeman. I agree with it. I didn't agree with it. Eric, did you ever agree with it? Did you ever think that was a smart idea?
Absolutely not. But I tell you what I also got out of that speech is that Eric Adams got his perception management, perception control, perception versus reality idea from Andrew Cuomo. Because in that speech, he talked about the perception also. So these guys are moving in lockstep. If you vote for Cuomo or Adams, you're getting one and the same. Maybe there's a difference in how far or how much of a criminal enterprise it is. But the bottom line is these two are moving in lockstep. So there's no doubt in my mind, if we vote for one of these two, we are headed for complete peril. We're going to just flush this down the toilet. I mean, ask yourselves, in New York City, were you happy with how the city was manipulated and maneuvered during times of COVID? While it was under former Mayor Bill de Blasio, in conjunction with former Governor Andrew Cuomo, if you were happy with the results, ask yourself, if we had another pandemic today, if we had a COVID 2025, what would be the outcome? What would life be like? And that's why I say we have short-term memories. If there was a COVID pandemic as we speak, would you want Cuomo at the helm of New York City? Do you want to be locked down again? Do you want to be restrained from going to the gym, Do you want to have to present a vaccination card at restaurants? If that's the life that you want, vote Andrew Cuomo.
That's it. If you like New York State and New York City, and we're headed, you think that New York City and New York State have been headed in the right direction for the last 10 years, vote Cuomo or Adams. That's it. Because they're the ones that created it. What Cuomo said there, right? He said we're going to fundamentally change policing. We're going to systemically change policing. Eric, in your opinion, how did that work out? I mean, we know the numbers. The numbers show when we talk about the numbers don't lie, right? Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. We already know the numbers, right? Crime has skyrocketed since this time. So he fundamentally changed policing. He systemically changed New York City. He made it unsafer to ride on subways. He made it unsafer to ride New York City streets. He chased police officers out of the profession. He helped create a retention problem and a recruitment problem in policing. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of tax-paying, law-abiding citizens fled New York City. 330-something thousand estimated fled New York City from the time that Andrew Cuomo signed all this stuff into law. Eric, when you just bring yourself back, all this stuff's happening, and these two morons and Eric Adams and Bill de Blasio and everyone's cheering on these reforms. Are you shocked by any of this, what's happening?
I'm shocked that anyone's surprised at this point. If these are the facets and aspects that were put in place for New York City, here's your byproduct. Here's the results. We completely changed legislation for New York City when it comes to policing. We changed legislation, not only policing, but we changed legislation in the courtroom, because there's a dichotomy between the police and the courtroom. And sometimes people forget it's the job of the police to bring these perpetrators, persons, and subjects into custody, but it's the job of the courts to prosecute. And this legislation stripped away from all these items to actually protect New York City for public safety. So, and they're responsible. They have a major hand in it. Eric Adams did not bring back the heart of New York City, blue-collar workers, cops, firemen, teachers that support the city, sanitation workers. Eric Adams terminated them, forced them to resign, did not bring them back. And Andrew Cuomo locked the city down. And that's why I say, if you liked the way, think back. That's why I talk about these short-term memories. Think back how you felt. Think about what life was like back then. Would you want to live that again? Would you want to live in that facet? That's not the way we should live. This is America. You should still make that choice. So, with that being said, I have to say, shout out to our brother Marlon, Finest Unfiltered family. Marlon said this is about the elitist. I have to say, I think it was spot on. I think he brought the show on Friday at the roundtable full circle. The elitist, they want Cuomo. They want Adams because they moved to AI, all these private contracts. Those are the people that benefit from this. And not as Sal Greco would say, not the low information voter.
Billy Grokuff, shout out to you. Guys, just do us a favor. Please don't donate here. If you want to send any money, please go over to Eric's son's GoFundMe page. Links are in the YouTube link, the Rumble link, the LinkedIn link. You could see the link there. If you don't have it, you can send us an email. We'll forward it to you. Just please don't donate to the podcast at this time. We appreciate it. We'll try to get to all your comments and get them up on the screen. But Billy Grovegut says, if you guys open the lines, you will be huge. We're working on that. We'll definitely get there at some point. We're working on a lot of kinks. We're making our website better. A lot of different things. Show's going to definitely step it up in 2025. We said that as it started, and I hope you guys are noticing that. So, yeah. But back to Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams in New York City. So the state of New York City was horrific at the time that Eric Adams comes into office. It was such a mess that it was so easily fixable that I've said, I was like, wow, Eric Adams is probably the most incompetent individual to ever complete a 20-something year career in the NYPD and make it to the rank of captain. He is a rebel rouser. He was not a good borough president. He was an even worse state senator. I'm like, but he has the best opportunity ever. You guys can go back. I said it on Fox News. I said it. He could be potentially have risen to national attention and competed with Joe Biden in the Democratic primary this time and might have even been the winner. He might have even beat out Donald Trump. He had, because of the legislation that he cheered on and Andrew Cuomo signed into law, all of it, the 50A, the chokehold, you go down the list, bail reform, discovery reform, sanctuary state, sanctuary city, all of these things. Eric Adams steps in. Pandemic's over when Eric Adams steps in. He pretends like it was still raging. No, pandemic was over. He kept that thing going for over 2 years. Guy's a complete moron. He walks in and the mayor. And I said he could potentially be the president of the United States because he had the best opportunity, the easiest opportunity to walk in there and go, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. Stop that. We're fixing that. I'm going to open up New York City. I'm going to reinstate these city workers. It's not going to cost me anything because they're only 2-3 months out of a job, some of them. It's not going to cost me anything. I'm going to fill the gaps in teaching. I'm going to fill the gaps in the fire department, in the police department. I'm going to make New York City great again. I don't want people fleeing the city. I want to make New York City a city where families live, where generations live. I want you to have a vacation home in Florida, but I want you to live here. I want to keep your tax money here. I want you here. I don't want you to get a pension and run out of this city and go live in Florida or go live in Georgia or North Carolina or South Carolina. I want that money here. I want you to make enough money in this city that you have a beautiful home in South Carolina. But I want you to be a New York resident. Right? And he didn't do that. He doubled down and tripled down on these failures. And because so many people had left New York City in 2021 because of what Andrew Cuomo and Bill de Blasio did, instead of trying to coax those people to come back from where they always lived and where they always worked, he literally doubled down and tripled down on failure. And more people fled. Guy's an idiot. And now we sit here and we're like, oh, who should we pick? Cuomo, Adams. And you think you have a choice? You know, and people sit here, oh, it's because the way you guys vote. Do New York City voters have a real choice at this point? In this election, the only person that I see that is a competent individual, that is a professional individual, that is somebody that's not only was a public that competed in public service, but has actual real life experience, built a business, cares about people, understands the issues, has a plan for every single issue, including mental health, what he's going to do about it, is Jim Walden. And you don't see him on your TV. You don't see the big ads. You don't see the Democrats gawking over him, and you don't see the Republicans gawking over him. And you think it's the voters' fault? Where's their choice? They're told Curtis Sliwa or Adams or Cuomo. Seriously?
Jim Walden, no doubt about it, changed the course of how this mayoral candidacy is going to play out. When Jim Walden appeared on this podcast, he said, hold me accountable. And that's what I appreciate about Jim, because he said, hold me accountable. He put himself in a position to say, hey, New York City workers were not taken back. I'll take them back. And there was a lot of things that Jim wasn't aware of when it came to the vaccine mandate. And to his credit, John had a conversation with him after the interview, and Jim had an open mind, and he's willing to discuss the facets of the vaccine mandate and how to bring everyone back. And that's what we need to have, real discussions. Now, New York City, typically doesn't run. It doesn't support the line for independent. I think Bloomberg is the only one that actually got voted as an independent, and that was in his third term, which was pretty much a lock. But I think it's time for real change. New York City, if there was ever a time where we can have an independent candidate actually win in New York City, now is the time. And I want to reflect even further, John, on what you said. You're absolutely right. New York City used to always be home base. New York City was home base. We had snowbirds. People left. They went to Florida. They went to Georgia, South Carolina. But New York City was still home base. Even in retirement, that was the home base. That's where their tax money went. But not anymore. New York City is no longer the home base. People have fled, and they're not coming back. So Jim Walden, life of service, Eastern District, intelligent man. We really got to see who Jim Walden was here on the podcast. I think he did a great job, and he changed the conversation. So if there was ever a time to go behind the line for independent, now's the time. Now is the time. I don't see anyone else vital at this point. I haven't given an actual endorsement, but at this point, to me, he seems the most logical reason with the candidates that we have. So, Jim, shout out to you.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, and that's where we're at. So Andrew Cuomo, he cheered on. He believes what he did in public safety was a success. So Andrew Cuomo signs into law bail reform. He signs into law the 50A and the chokehold bill. Here's just a little clip of him signing in to law the 50A and the chokehold bill, banning officers from doing chokeholds and actually making it a Class C felony in New York State to apply a chokehold. And I just want you people to think about that for 1 second. I give you a badge and a gun. I send you out into the fray. I tell you that I want you to arrest violent criminals, and that violent criminal could do anything to you. They could poke your eye out. They could rip your ear off. They could bite you. They could grab your gun. They could stab you. They could run you over. There's literally nothing that's off limits to the criminal. They could choke you. They could throat punch you. They could twist your testicles. They could stick things in your anus. Doesn't matter. But I'm going to tell you, you could never place your arm around the neck of a violent, resisting perpetrator. When in fact, if any of you's ever been in a fight, a natural defense mechanism to hold on, especially when someone's bigger than you, stronger than you, or a more skilled fighter than you, what you would do traditionally is go for a headlock or a neck lock to get that individual. It's the most insane thing I've ever heard. And, we've spoken about it on this show before, and Eric, somebody that performs jiu-jitsu every day, has been choked out and has choked out numerous individuals hundreds of times. He knows that this is actually one of the least violent forms of control. But yet Andrew Cuomo, who tells you he supports you and he supports the police, he cheered on making this a Class C felony. So while someone's trying to kill you, if you wrap your arm around their neck, police officers in New York State, you'll be charged with a Class C felony, lose your career, and go to jail. Eric, what do you think about that?
It's so idiotic and moronic. And I saw the Civilian Complaint Review Board of New York City jump on the bandwagon. And what they did was they analyzed the minutiae and details when police officers, including myself, involved in tussles over illegal firearms, and cops' hands getting towards someone's neck because they're in a tussle. When you're in a tussle, to actually map out and to be cognizant of exactly where your hands are is the most ridiculous thing. A tussle is a mess. I don't care how much training you have. You're not going to be accurate exactly where your hands are. But I even witnessed it myself, police officers and myself, that when you're in situations in tussles trying to get someone in handcuffs, and it's a natural thing. When you're out there, if anyone's ever fired a firearm, there's what's referred to as the natural point of aim. And when you line up your sights, your natural point of aim is right on your target. And it's the same thing. I don't care how much training you have or don't have. It's natural instinct to go towards the head, because where the head goes, the body goes. When you go towards someone's head, you can realign their spine and control someone. So this idea of removing this as a tool for police officers to maintain control of their adversaries, to protect the adversary and themselves, is ridiculous. This idea and demonize the chokehold is just absurd. These are people that have no understanding of how it works to be in a tussle for your life. To say the word never. Now, I can understand if you want to say we do not encourage it, something like that. It's very important that you train how to do a proper chokehold. But I can tell you, 300 to 500,000 people get choked out a year doing jujitsu, wrestling, grappling in America, and no one dies. It's applied properly through training. And again, I could say, if you could say it's not encouraged, but to say never is absolutely ridiculous. There's a time and place for everything, especially in the heat of battle. When you're fighting on the streets, that's battle.
And here's Andrew Cuomo signing that into law, making it a Class C felony to ever try to protect your life or the life of others and utilize a chokehold.
Sign the bill.
Earlier this month, with the mother of Eric Garner at his side, Governor Cuomo repealed Section 50A,
Congratulations, the bills are signed.
which shielded disciplinary records of police officers from the public.
The 50A was a significant one. I think you got to own your bad mistakes and you got to move forward, and it creates a tremendous opportunity, I think, to build trust.
Sign the bill.
So there it is. Not only the chokehold bill, but the 50A. It was a slew of criminal justice reforms that were signed into law. And you had the NYPD Police Commissioner, Dermot Shea, cheering that on. And again, you got to think, we were getting so assaulted as police officers, especially in the NYPD at that time. I mean, there was nothing that we could do right. And I remember vividly talking to higher ups in the NYPD and saying, so do I have to give where my children go to school? Is that public safety? Is that transparency? Should I let the protesters know where my children go to school? Because you're telling me this is public. You're telling me transparency relates to public safety. And I have no problem with you file a complaint against me and you get my disciplinary record. Or you sue me and you get my disciplinary record. But I have a big problem with this being open sourced for eternity. And there were no safeguards on this from the very beginning, right? Oh, how about when they retire? How about they were substantiated and years have passed? How about they were unsubstantiated? Right? No safeguards. And there was no pushback from the union, from the NYPD appointed management, because what you could see is clearly they were not leaders. They were just taking the knee to the political winds. They blew with the political winds. They were sales. They were like, okay. Oh, no, it's good to now it's okay to like the police again. Now we can like the police. And now we don't think the police are racist anymore. So you've seen that. And there was and today we're still suffering under that bill. What are your thoughts around the 50A, Eric?
We talk about it all the time. The 50A is just a complete disaster. It's quite interesting that the same people, and for instance, the New York City Council is in opposition, and they find it polarizing to have a gang database. But yet, we can have a gang database for the NYPD. And the 50A is exactly that. It is a gang database for the NYPD. It's a database to monitor and track NYPD personnel. It's quite interesting because that's what the gang database is. It's a device to monitor and track gang activity in New York City, which could affect public safety. But yet we spin this on its wheels and we give the perception, I want to use that word perception, that a gang database for the NYPD keeps the public safety. This is insane. This is the mentality. This is how far we've come, that we need to protect the public from the cops. not the perpetrators out there causing a vile and just deteriorating for the quality of life in New York City. Absolutely ridiculous. Again, it's a paradox. Let's not have a gang database, but let's have the 50A. Let's have the NYPD gang database. Quite interesting.
Well, I think when we look at the gang database, there's really no harm to the gang members. Unlike the 50A, there's zero harm to the gang members, right? Because you have the gang database, and these people are in a database, and when there's a shooting, the gang database is referenced to see, is this person a gang member? When people are arrested, the gang database is utilized. Is this person a gang member? Why they do that when you're arrested? To keep you, make sure you're not with rival gangs in those cells, right? So it actually protects the gang member, right? When there's a shooting, you source it to see why, so that you know that, hey, they're beefing with this crew or they're part of this crew. Let's deploy resources to these neighborhoods to prevent totalitarian shootings. So the gang database actually protects officers. The 50A destroys your career while you're in the police department and after, because it is for eternity. Clean slate for criminals. You wear white socks in the NYPD, everyone's going to read about it in 30 years. Your great-grandchildren will see that you got a CD 30 years past your death for having white socks. I mean, but yeah, let's just cover up that minor sexual assault. Let's just cover up that robbery. That one doesn't matter. We'll get that. But one time he failed to give a business card and he got found guilty of it. And so I think it's a complete, we do more for gang members and criminals, and we directly harm those who go out and we ask them to serve and protect. So, a lot of people are like, what's wrong with transparency? There's nothing wrong with transparency, but could we have some standards? So criminal, right? Let's give this example. Criminal drives drunk. Could not be a bad criminal. Could have made a mistake. It doesn't mean you're a violent criminal. Could have a drinking problem. Could have a problem with drugs. That crime will be removed off your record. Yet now you're a police officer. The crime under clean slate will be removed off your criminal record. But you are also met with departmental charges. And those for eternity remain on your 50A. 50A, myself and Eric have been making the case for over 2 years now that it is directly the repeal of 50A under Governor Cuomo, and he says a great thing here, directly emasculated the NYPD. And why that is because now we have these activists that go up not only to police officers' homes, but up to them on the street and harass them with their record, right? It's public record. It's open sourced. So this happened pretty much right at the onset of the repeal of 50A. What we're going to bring up is a female officer. She's standing in Manhattan on a foot post working a detail, and two idiots who believe that this is a good thing to do go up and harass this female police officer. And to the point that I'm saying, how could this female officer actually help anybody on the streets of New York City that day? How could we expect her to function properly when she's just going to continually be harassed? And again, her criminal record will be expunged, but her police disciplinary record never will.
Oh, look, I'm sorry, but it says guilty while off duty, wrongfully operating motor vehicle. She left, wrongfully refused to take the breathalyzer test, and she left the scene.
And you left the scene. You didn't want to take the breathalyzer? That's sad. You can't do that. You're breaking the law. How are you still a cop, though?
She went to take it to a rehab.
No, but still,
Yeah,
no.
but
Does she have any lawsuits? Yeah, 123,000 she made last year. Yeah.
She got disciplined.
When did she started?
2006.
Okay.
January 2020.
We can't drive in at parties, you know. You gotta have like a guy to drive you around, you know.
We started in 2021. We made 58,700.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Oh my! But he wants to make fun of us.
Every time I watch that video, my blood boils. There is zero directive by the NYPD on how a police officer should handle a situation when they're approached and they're completely taunted with the 50A. This is completely misused. This is complete harassment. I mean, they're pretty much impeding her from doing her job. She's in a position that's her post. What is the directive? That's a major failure at this point. We talk about support. We talk about community. Where is the support from the upper echelon of police department? Say, hey, when you're in a position with this 50A, it's being presented to you. Here's the actions you're going to take. And there has been zero directive, absolutely no vision on how they handle it, other than to stand there and just be completely belittled. And yet, it's kind of ironic. Eric Adams, our mayor of New York City, can't handle being not even belittled, but just having an argument with an old lady, an 80-some-odd-year-old lady, a Holocaust survivor, having concerns for her community. He can't even handle that conversation, but yet we expect our police officers to be harassed, taunted, demoralized, demeaned, totally disrespected in public. Would anyone ever be willing to take a job where you have to stand through that? Don't tell me, oh, police officers have to have thick skin. I get it to a point, but that's absolutely ridiculous. Think about it. If anyone here is active or retired, and if you are not a police officer, would you ever stand for that in your life? Absolutely not. But when you put that uniform on, that makes it different. I can understand having a 50A and having information for transparency, but to be utilized to this point where we've weaponized it to demean cops, this could lead to further corruption. That's what this could lead to. This could lead to, what if we tell this girl right now, what if they tell her, hey, listen, we got your 50A, we got all your information. Now we found out where your kids go to school. So while you're working, maybe your kids need a ride home. What if that's next? And that's how it could lead to corruption. You know what? You better do what we tell you so that your kids are safe coming home from school. This is insane.
And, you know, there's zero training or directive. Listen, I'm a free speech absolutist. You could say whatever you want to me. Say whatever you want. I don't care. I'm not going to get mad about it. Do it from a distance. Don't invade my personal space. When I'm a police officer working in uniform, you don't have the right to completely harass and distract me, because now you're taking away what the taxpayers, my ability to perform my job, which the taxpayers pay me to do. So this is a clear crime. Why the unions, why our elected officials, why the NYPD leadership has not addressed this and came up with a solution with all 5 borough DAs is beyond me. It's the highlight of incompetence to me. It's like, this is a very easy thing. This is disorderly conduct. This is causing a crowd to form. This is acting in violent and tumultuous behavior. This is harassment. Clear as day, right? Officers have to observe harassment. How about when harassment happens to them? Right? This to me is a no-brainer. This to me, yeah, maybe you get a slap on the wrist, but this to me is a non-DAT-able offense. This to me is, you're going to get arrested. You could yell my 50A. You just do it from 15 to 20 feet away. Actually, let's make it 25 feet. If you don't leave me alone, if you don't get away from me, you are going to go to jail tonight. Now, we could do 2 warnings, 3 warnings, but make it something. Because this is absolutely ridiculous. And every day, we see video after video with this. We see all of these content creators going around and harassing police officers on New York City streets. And there is zero leadership. There is zero acknowledgement on this. Me and Eric are the only people that talk about this. We're the only people that talk about it. Complete huge failure. Complete huge failure. Andrew Cuomo, what are you going to do about that? Eric Adams hasn't done anything about it for 3.5 years, so we obviously know what he's going to do about it. The same thing he's been doing. Absolutely nothing. He's going to go get his toes done and his nails done. He's going to go out at night, make sure his ankle bracelet's on, and he's going to talk and compare himself to Jesus Christ. That's what he's going to do. We get that. So, Andrew, what were you going to say, Eric? Sorry.
No, are you going to go into the video?
No, go. What do you got?
Oh, I just want to say, because it's on my mind, but police officers are held to not a higher standard. I say they're held to an impossible standard. I'll never forget, towards the end of my retirement, there was an arrest case that I was involved in. And it was pretty much an all-out riot in housing. But one of the perpetrators that was arrested for typical obstructing governmental administration, disorderly conduct. Had got into the space of one of the female police officers and really impeding her from doing her job and diverting her attention and controlling the crowd. And we had the body camera footage. And I'll never forget, it was so volatile. And of course, the district attorney's office at the time declined to prosecute. Said that they didn't see the parameters of obstructing governmental administration and disorderly conduct. So I went to the DA's office myself in the Bronx, and I spoke to the supervisors there. And I said, this is absolutely ridiculous. This is time and again that this happens. And we started to have pretty much a screaming match. I used to never back down to these DAs, say, absolutely ridiculous. How do you expect these police officers to be safe and you're not willing to prosecute? And as we're talking, I'm having a conversation, there was a female ADA, assistant district attorney, standing next to me. And we started to talk about the parameters. And at some point, just talking with my hands, just like we normally do. And I guess by accident, my hand got close to the assistant district attorney as I'm talking, and she jumps back, and she got nervous. And I said, wow, you just jumped back, and we're having a friendly conversation about the parameters of obstructing governmental administration, disorderly conduct, and my hand accidentally got close to you, just talking, and you freaked out. But yet a police officer is supposed to withhold the threshold of having someone in their personal space while they're controlling the crowd, while they're involved in a riot, and you won't prosecute. To me, look at the irony. So police officers are not held to a higher standard. They're held to an impossible standard.
You know, in 2020, especially at this time, Cuomo's the governor. Adams is hanging out at his home in Fort Lee, New Jersey, teaching you how to make pretend masks. Bill de Blasio is going to the gym every morning and flouting all of the rules that he put into place. They're all cheering on the protesters. And the NYPD became the epitome of a emasculated department that had took a knee to the mob. Right? You know, what happened in 2020, and I used to say it constantly, I said, the department that I worked in for the last 17 years, we used to do crowd control, but now in 2020, we let the crowd control us. So we no longer provide public safety to the citizens of New York City, the tourists, or anybody that passed through New York City. We essentially took the knee. We took the knee without having to actually ever do it, even though a lot of spineless appointed managers, politically appointed managers in the NYPD actually did, in fact, take a knee. And what we saw through this whole time is a complete, utter change in policing. There were photo after photo in the NYPD of cops with protesters literally like this, screaming in their face, yelling in the officer's face, spit coming out of the protester's face onto the cop. And it was like photo after photo after photo. And all the right-wing media and the left-wing media would take these photos, and the right-wing media would tell you, look at the restraint on the officers. And the left-wing media would be like, what a historic time. This is a historic photo. And everybody was looking for that historic photo. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, how are you, as a police officer, allowing someone into your frame like this? You're looking up like this. You're so angry. And that person could just reach in their pocket, grab a screwdriver, and stick you in the throat, and you're dead. Or that person could shoot you in the face or spit in your face. Because that's not how I was trained as a police officer. So when Relly Rebel tried to do that to me at a Breonna Taylor, whatever you want to call it, protest, riot, whatever you would like to call it, and I squared off with him, he didn't know how to handle it. The supervisors on the scene didn't know how to handle it because they were like, wait, what's this? And I'm like, they were like, did you ever do one of these before? I was like, yeah, I did these when we were the police, chief. I've done these when we were the police. He's not getting in my face. He gets in my face, I'm going to knock him out. I'm telling you right now, he's not getting in my face. I'm not going to sit there and be like this and let a 6'4" idiot who definitely skipped leg day think that he's going to rain down on me. It's not happening. We're going to the ground. There's going to be a brawl here. It's not happening. That is not safety. That is not public safety. That is not policing. So Andrew Cuomo and politicians like him and Bill de Blasio and Kathy Hochul and Eric Adams and all in New York City Council, they did fundamentally change policing throughout New York City, and they didn't do it for the better. Here's Governor Cuomo when it relates to bail reform and discovery law. Here he is on stage telling you how he fundamentally changed New York State and New York City.
Now, don't get me wrong. No one should sit in jail for almost 3 years awaiting trial. That's a major problem. I do think that's a major problem. You should not be sitting in jail waiting 3 years to the point where what happens is, in most cases, because only 10% of cases actually go to trial, people are just so fed up with sitting around that they take a plea deal because they want to go home. That part I agree with. But to the extent that the bail reform has gotten to, and that they have not made amendments to make it safer for the public and also safer for the actual perpetrator, because I say it all the time, if you're out there and you have an alleged robbery, you're arrested for a robbery, and if you're actually a perpetrator that does commit robberies, well, while you're out on with no bail, they're going to commit more robberies, and by the time they actually go into court, they're going to have a lot of cases against them before they actually have their day in court. So yes, that's a major problem, but that's not a problem on the police. That's a problem on the court system. That's funny because Cuomo was an attorney general. Why didn't you fix it then? But yet we're fixing it now, and all it's affected is the police department themselves and public safety. We're not handling this bail reform accurately. I agree. No one should sit in jail for 3 years for a marijuana charge or something that you haven't had your day in court. That's where we need to do better. But the bail reform they did is so far on one end of the spectrum that we've just deteriorated from the streets of New York City.
So when it relates to bail reform, right? It's doing the right thing for the wrong reason. So when you look at politics and you look at these politicians, what they do is something happens, whatever it is, and then they're like, we're going to make a law about it. And 99.9% of the times, the law that they make is not a well thought out law. It's not, they don't even completely understand it. They have some advocacy group write it, and then they just sign it. Right? I could write a law right now and present it to people. Like, you should pass this. I could get it passed. 100%. 100%. I could write a terrible law and get it passed. I already know, like, this is what happens. It's not like Andrew Cuomo didn't write that. Andrew Cuomo never even read it, probably. But it's telling you it's historic and how great it's going to be. So what does he say there? He says, cash bail is not justice. So what he's saying is you can never hold anybody ever for bail. Now that's a problem. That's a big problem. Now you want to talk about a guy who commits a misdemeanor offense, nonviolent offense. You want to talk about somebody who does something stupid, steals something in a store, uses drugs, whatever. Yeah. Cash bail for somebody that's poor in that circumstance is actually unfair, right? It's actually an unfair thing. I agree. But what does that have to do with people who rob people, who have firearms, who assault people, who break into people's homes, who do minor sexual acts of aggression against women and children? What does that have to do with them? Obviously, everything, according to Andrew Cuomo and all of these left-wing progressives like Eric Adams and him, right? Because they did not delve into, and they didn't speak to the experts, and they didn't talk about it. They didn't say what works and what doesn't work, where the failures are, and let's improve them. So just like broken windows theory of policing, instead of honing in on the successes, picking out the failures and fixing them, we just rip down the system and we create a huge public safety void where now, even until today, what do we hear about? Recidivism. Why? Because we can't put these people in jail. And yes, Eric, you are correct. It's not right that these people are sitting in jail without their case being heard for 3 years, right? You're accused of the crime. That is what Rikers is. That is a problem. But the answer to that problem is not release everybody and close Rikers. And that's what Andrew Cuomo told you right there.
We got some great comments here. I think it was, let me see if I find, I think it was Reed. It made a good comment here. I can't find it. There's so many comments flowing in. But basically what Reed said is that if you do, or if there's alleged misdemeanor that's a non-violent crime, in most cases you're not going to Rikers anyway, which is actually a good point. For shoplifting, things like that, most misdemeanor crimes that are non-violent, you are eligible for what's considered a desk appearance ticket, which means you're arrested, you're printed, and you get to go home and respond a later date at an actual appointment, a specific time for a court date that you would respond. In most cases, we do have that. We could fix the desk appearance ticket privilege. We could fix things like that. But the bail reform that we did is completely lopsided. If you're alleged to commit a robbery, that's something very serious, that's violent in nature, and that means that probable cause was met to actually make that arrest. What does probable cause mean? It's a reasonable person would believe that you committed that crime. Can you be innocent? Of course. But you should be held accountable, and you should get your day in court immediately as soon as possible. That's what this country was built on, a speedy trial, due process. The fact that someone's sitting there a long time, that's a major problem. But someone that is alleged for a robbery is not someone we want to send home. That's where we need to have the rubber meet the road, is fix what's going on with those details. And that's on the side of the courtroom, not on the side of the cops.
Yeah, and so today what I'm hearing from Andrew Cuomo is I'm hearing he's public safety, right? And the buzzword today is America first, right? Buzzword nationally is America first. But I think we could all agree that the mayor of New York City should actually hone in further and say New York City first, right? I'm putting New York City residents first. I'm not going to put illegal aliens first like Eric Adams did the last 3.5 years. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put New Yorkers first. I'm going to put children in New York City first. I'm going to put the people who make the wheels turn and who pay the taxes first. I'm going to have a business-friendly environment to not only help the businesses that make the wheels turn in this city grow and expand, I'm going to attract new businesses. That should be the mayor of New York City. How does Andrew Cuomo feel about America, though? I'd love to know. Could we see how Andrew Cuomo felt about America? Let's see.
We're not going to make America great again. It was never that great. We have not reached greatness. We will reach greatness when every American is fully engaged. We will reach greatness when discrimination and stereotyping against women. 51% of our population is gone.
I don't know. He looks like he's doing it right for myself. Got a nice suit on. You were the governor.
Never held a job.
But right, you potentially could become a mayor. You got plenty of money. To me, it seems like America was pretty good for you, right? He says America was never that great. I don't know. Seems like he's doing well to me. I don't see the where he's not doing so well. Where was America bad for him? America was pretty good for Andrew Cuomo.
America was pretty good for him and his brother Fredo, too. Oh, not Fredo, I'm sorry. I mean, Chris Cuomo. Excuse me. America was pretty good for him. So he's sitting there. He is a governor of New York. And he says, we're not going to make America great again because America was never that great. So obviously, he's not going to make New York City great again. Because if America wasn't great, I guess New York City was never that great, according to him. Because I'll beg to differ. Because I'll tell you right now, in my early 20s and my early 30s, New York City was a great place to live. And as little as 3 years ago, even under a communist mayor, even under a moron, child of privilege governor, I never foresaw myself ever leaving New York City or the New York City Police Department. Never saw it. Didn't see it happening. Right? And so these are the people. These are your candidates. And now let's go back to what he highlights as his first success. His first success is his actions during COVID. So while he's running his stupid daily press conferences and he's telling you he's showing you every day and removing all doubt of the moron that he is, that he didn't know how many hospital beds there were. He's asking for ventilators. What am I going to do with 100 ventilators? I need more ventilators than that. He didn't know what they were going to do with the ventilators and what they did with the ventilators. If he would have known, we should have just kept the 100 we had and kept them in storage. Right? Because the guy that's in charge of the state, that's the #1 terrorist target in the world, didn't know how many hospital beds there were until the pandemic hit. Okay. Incompetent? I think so. Right? So now he's having his daily press conferences. There's all you Cuomo sexuals out there, right? Everybody loves the Cuomo brothers. And what do they think about us? They think that we're morons. They think that we're fools. So Andrew Cuomo invites his little brother Fredo on his show, and they have a little back and forth. So while Cuomo is telling you can have X amount of people in your house and you shouldn't walk with your wife and your children together, even though you all live in the same house and eat together, and how that all makes sense, while he's telling you that, and his brother's telling you how bad having COVID is, even though he's out every day and not actually quarantined, but he's pretending that he is on the show. And then he's threatening old men on the street who confront him about it and building his house out in the Hamptons because, he's one of us. Another guy that never held a job in his life. They're out on the news mocking us. His brother completely tells a fake story. And the governor of New York knows it and plays along. They treat us like mushrooms, like we're idiots, like we're a population of people that has a 2-week memory and we can't understand the information that they're giving us. But I know a lot of you, a lot smarter than that, and a lot of you remember this interview and you remember this time of these idiots mocking us. I remember that.
It's tough. And, it's not doing great with my hair. I have to be honest. It's tough to keep hair the way I want it to look. You look like you've been cutting your own hair, which some people are good at, some people are not. So I've chosen to wear a hat because I don't want to butcher my own haircut. But it's going to be a long slog. Now that I know the fight that I'm in for, I'm more comfortable. That night, I got hit with fever and those rigors, spelled like rigors, R-I-G-O-R-S. But It was like out of a movie. I tell you, I had the hallucination. I was seeing Pop. You came to me in a dream. You had on a very interesting ballet outfit, and you were dancing in the dream, and you were waving a wand and saying, I wish I could wave my wand and make this go away. And then you spun around and you danced away.
Well, that's there's a lot of metaphoric reality in that one. I thank you for sharing that with us.
Oh, what a time, man. People forget. It started out as press conferences on a daily basis. Then it just became like the Andrew Cuomo show, and all these women, I started hearing all these women thought, oh, he's so handsome. And like this, it just became about him. I gotta laugh that you said a Cuomo sexual. What's the orientation of a Cuomo sexual? Is heterosexuals, homosexuals? What's a Cuomo sexual, John?
People were lording over this dude. I'm like,
They really were.
I've been saying it for years. I've been saying it before them. I always say America loves dumb people, and that's why they love Andrew Cuomo.
They do. And you know what? Shout out to who's this here? Someone's comparing to the mayor of Boston. Here we go. 20th Street Class 8311. Bad mayors aren't only in New York City. Look at Boston. She's apologizing to a berserk perp family after off-duty took him out as he was attempting to kill bystanders with a knife. Yeah, that was insane. We are getting just insane, just ridiculous mindsets by mayors in democratic cities in this country. So Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo has nothing to do with the color of their skin. Because if I remember, the mayor of Boston is not exactly white or black. So that completely just disrupts that norma. But we just complete insanity by the mindset of these Democrats. And Andrew Cuomo and Adams would do no different right now.
Yeah. So, all right, let's wrap up Andrew Cuomo. We've been going on an hour, 27 minutes with Andrew Cuomo. I saw the clip of the Boston mayor. We'll try to get that up before we end. I know what you're talking about. We could break that down for like 2 seconds. But I think let's end on Cuomo. Because to me, when I listen to Cuomo, when I think about Cuomo, it brings back a horrible time in New York City. And that's true when I think about Bill de Blasio. And it's also true when I think about Eric Adams. So I can't engage in the conversation of who's better. I could only engage in the fact is how the hell is Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo the front runners for mayor in New York City? How the hell is the Republican Party's only opposition Curtis Lewa? These are our choices. I'm sorry. I like Curtis Lewa. I do. Is he a manager? Has he managed anything? Has he managed any systems? What's his take? What's his take? I mean, half his takes he gets from the show. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I'm gonna tell the truth. This is what I do. This is what we've been doing. I'm gonna tell the truth. His takes are our takes. Well, I'm supposed to sit here and be like, oh, no, he's great, bro. He's great. Yeah, he's great. He's going to get 20% of the vote, maybe less. He's not going to bring anybody out new. He's not going to sway the Democratic vote. He's not great. He's not a great candidate. He's a good guy. I respect him. But he's not going to be the mayor of New York City. And the GOP knows it. The Conservative Party knows it. The voters know it. The people with the big money know it. Who is his name? Oh, Katzimatidis. He knows it. He's not going to be it. And that's why he's going to come out swinging for Cuomo. Everybody's coming out swinging for Cuomo. And the Republicans are saying, let's run Eric Adams. Like, what the hell are you talking about? You might as well not even vote. Just be like, just give it to whatever idiot. It's the same guy. They'll sway with the winds. When the winds blow, we'll just put a flag up. We'll just put a flag up in the mayor's office, left or right. And whatever day the wind blows, that day they're conservative, that day they're pro-illegal immigration, the next day they're against illegal immigration. One day they hate the police, the next day they love the police. Like, we just do that. Just put a flag up. Just put a flag up in City Hall. We don't even need somebody there. We don't even need it. And we could just play clips of Cuomo and Adams and laugh all day,
I'm not kidding. When we said This is the battle of the worst. This is what you're getting. It's almost like you're getting Eric Adams or Andrew Cuomo intertwined. You get the same person by default. By default, because the Republicans can't put up a candidate that is a sure win. It's almost like they're doing this on purpose. They're losing on purpose. We can't get a sure winner. In the greatest city in the entire world, we can't get a sure winner. We can't get one person. So you know what? Jim Walden, I know it's tough as independent, but shout out to you. I hope you could find a way to separate yourself from the pack even further. Good luck to you. We need some real leadership. Please don't let us down.
Yeah, and before we get into the Boston mayor, just real quick on this whole thing, I put a thread out on X about how Rudy Giuliani won, right? And so everyone, oh, New York's different. It's like, it's different, but it's not really that different. When you look at the makeup of Democrats versus Republicans in New York City, it's almost identical. And people are like, oh, you know, the Irish and the Italians left. Guess what? They were Democrats. They were Democrats. All the Italians I know from Brooklyn were Democrats. They didn't vote for Giuliani because he was Italian. Same people voted for Dinkins with no plan years prior to that. Right? How did Rudy Giuliani win in a majority Democratic city? Now, the news will tell you it was an anomaly. It's a thing that can never be replicated ever again. And I'm like, forget, we had the Crown Heights riots. Crime was through the roof, right? Crime's through the roof. There he is winning. A Republican mayor wins. Not one, twice. This is 1993. This is Rudy Giuliani. Competent person, a prosecutor like Jim Walden. Went after the mob like Jim Walden. And they'll tell you this was an anomaly. This can never be repeated again in New York City history. So at this time in New York City, crime's through the roof. People are afraid. The ethnic communities in New York City are afraid. The ethnic communities in New York City are overwhelmingly Democrat. So here we are today. The ethnic communities are afraid. The business communities are fleeing. The ethnic community is overwhelmingly Democrat. There hasn't been this huge shift in Republicans switching. No. But what did Rudy Giuliani have? Rudy Giuliani was a competent person. He wanted to bring in a business-friendly environment. He wasn't looked at this right-wing figure. So not only did he get Democratic support, he got independent support, and he brought out voters that traditionally wouldn't come out to vote in elections, right? Because someone said, oh, wow, I like the messaging of this guy. This is someone that I could see as a leader of this city. This is someone who has a proven track record of being a good person and having integrity. And Rudy Giuliani won that election. And I'm sitting here and saying New York City's in the same exact position that it was in 1993. We're headed toward financial ruin. Businesses are fleeing. Families are fleeing. Crime is through the roof. People are afraid. People want change. The business community wants change. And our change is we double down and get the same three idiots that are going to run for mayor.
That's exactly what this is. It's more of the same. It's the same horse, different color. We're not getting any different. If anything, New York City is going to be far worse this next term, whether we get Eric Adams or Andrew Cuomo. If that's going to be the default position for New York City, it's going to go totally down the toilet. Why? Because the money is already leaving New York City. The big businesses, they're already leaving. They're on their way out. That's okay. The only people that will survive in New York City will be the elitists and it will be the poor on the streets. That's it. There'll be no middle ground in New York City if there is any left at this point. Just poor and rich. That's it. We're taking out the middle class. New York City firemen, New York City cops, New York City service workers, forget about residency requirements. They won't be able to live anywhere in New York City. Thank you to our politicians, but they destroyed it. Life like no other. New York City is the great escape right now. There's no doubt about it. When I said earlier that it was home base for most people, go to Florida, go anywhere in the entire country, or maybe get somewhere overseas, New York City was still the home base, but no longer. People have fled and they're not looking to come back.
So Reed points out another topic that people talk about as to why Rudy won. He says, I heard Rudy won due to special vote in Staten Island to remove itself from the other boroughs. More residents in Staten Island came out to vote. Great point. It's a great point. It's absolutely something that happened. It's something that twice Joe Borelli used to propel himself. And he didn't even actually come up with a plan. He took the secession plan from 1993. And not only did he do it like one time and say, we're going to secede from Staten Island. He got all these headlines. We're going to secede. Staten Island's going to secede from New York. He did it again years later without ever taking the same plan. He took that same plan. So when Rudy Giuliani wins in 93, if you look at those votes, again, the voter turnout in New York City is abysmal. He gets like 8% turnout, right? He gets, I think he gets hair. He squeaks past Dinkins, the incumbent, and he wins. And the boroughs he wins in are Staten Island and Queens. Traditionally conservative boroughs. Today, it remains the same. He got those votes, 93. But then when you get to 1997, after 4 years of a fiscal conservative, of a tough on crime mayor, he takes parts of Manhattan, he takes Brooklyn. First time anyone ever won Brooklyn in, I think it was like 70 years. First time a Republican ever won Brooklyn. Like I forget what the number was, but it was like 70 years or something like that. Because the policies worked. Because we shouldn't be voting because I like Eric Adams because he's funny. I like Andrew Cuomo because he doesn't know how many ventilators we got. We got 100 ventilators. What am I going to do with 100 ventilators? Like, we shouldn't be voting. You should be voting, what is this guy saying and what has he done? What are his policies? I don't know Cuomo's policies. I don't know Adams' policies. I don't know Sliwa's policies. The only policies I've heard two people give policies. Zohran Mammadani, who, by the way, is showing you that an independent candidate could come out of left field and raise more money than all of these people. He's outperformed all of them. He's a socialist. He wants city-owned grocery stores. He wants to give baby baskets. I don't support any of what Zohran says. I'm going to tell you right now. I don't think he has a grasp on the issues. I think he's creating issues and giving people something to hone in on. And basically, he's giving away everything for free. Free bus rides, free this. Sounds great. I don't know how it's going to work. But he's got what the Republicans now should have. He should be that. So Sal Greco weighs in. He says, demographics have changed since 93. That's 30 plus years ago. We now have a plethora of low information voters, the same as we did then. The demographics have not changed. What? The Irish and the Italians have been replaced by Puerto Ricans and Dominicans? They also vote Democrat. They also are unaware of politics. My family wasn't political. They didn't know any of this stuff. You think immigrants come to this country and they know American politics? It's a very rare thing. Some people do, but it's a very rare thing. The demographics have not changed. The voter makeup has not changed. The issues that we faced in 1993 are the exact issues we're facing today. And the only candidate in the race that people are getting behind and getting this grassroots support is the socialist. Now, I don't think he has a shot to win the mayor, even though he fundraises, but you got to start paying attention, because if the Democrat Party and the Republican Party are going to continue down this definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, taking the same exact candidates that the voters won't come out to vote for, that you're not going to get out, you're going to see a socialist win the seat of the mayor in New York City. Maybe it's not going to be this one, but maybe it's 10 years, maybe it's 12 years, whatever it is, you're going to see it. Mark my words, because that's the same type of candidate that the Republicans should be running and that the Democrats should be running. A candidate that the people could relate to, and nobody is. Nobody's seeing it. So you're not getting the voters out. You're not getting the cross voters. You're staying on the people, right wing, left wing. It's done. And there's no choice. It's done.
It's interesting. Hey, shout out to Sal Greco, finds the Filter family. He goes on further and says New York City in 1993 was 5-1 Democrat. It's now 7-1. The demographics have changed, more Democrats. So, according to Sal Greco, what he's saying is when he's referring to demographics, he's not referring to Italian, Irish, Jewish. What he's saying is that he's comparing and putting them on the parallel with the demographics. So, I mean, that's an interesting point. It's an interesting point, but I do think what you're saying, I do think we are headed down that rabbit hole that we could have a socialist mayor. That is scary to me. That is scary that a socialist mayor could get so much clout and so much attention because these Democrats that we have right now are the bottom of the barrel. Because some of the policies, by his own hand, I just totally don't agree with. They sound great. It sounds all hunky-dory, but it just doesn't work. They've tried this in other countries numerous times, this whole ideology of giving free. And when you give things for free, you know what happens? You run out and you don't have any of it. So it just doesn't work. It fails on its face. I think, Sal, if that's what you're referring to, I think you're referring to as the actual Democrats and Republicans being the demographics. I mean, are they more Democrats? It's more democratic socialist. I would say that.
So those numbers are based off the census. So people are asking for Sal's site of source. Sal is correct here when he's saying that it was 5-1, and now some people even say it's 8-1. Depends the source, because again, it's not a perfect science.
Yeah,
it's not a perfect science. But when you look at it, there was roughly 550,000 registered voters in 93 that voted Republican. And now it's about 500,000, they say. This is not an impossible task. That 7-1 number is not an impossible task. That 5-1 number was an impossible task. Because in the second election, he overwhelmingly wins. Right? Because he had that clear message and he had that proven track record. New York is a winnable state for candidates. It's a winnable city. New York City could be won Republican or Democrat, because what Rudy Giuliani's election proved, it's not an anomaly in history like they tell you. This is my opinion. I could be wrong. I could be an idiot, but this is my opinion. It is not an anomaly. It proved that people, especially New York City residents, will sway their vote. People will come out when they're angry. You know who else's election proved that? Donald Trump. Donald Trump showed that Democrats are going to come out and vote for a Republican candidate. Because I agree with you, Sal. New York City is a low information city. We talk about it all the time. And that's why the anger gets people to vote. So people don't even know why they're registered Democrat. I didn't know why I was a registered Democrat. If I asked my father, if my mother and father were still alive, and I asked why they were registered Democrat, they couldn't give me a clear answer. My brother-in-law's family is first-generation immigrants, right off the boat from Italy. They were all Democrat. I asked them, why are you guys Democrats? Oh, that's what they told us to vote for. I'm like, who's they? You know, that's what they told us to vote for. I'm like, low information? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. That, and now we have the same exact issues. People see incompetence. They see crime. They don't see a future here. They don't feel safe here. I think it's the exact same scenario. I do. That's my opinion. I could be wrong, but I think New York City is a winnable city for a Republican candidate. I will never buy into the fact that a Republican can't win, because Rudy Giuliani proved it. Donald Trump proved it. And Donald Trump is not a well-liked person.
I think Rob Lukash nailed it. Rob, what's up? He says voters are contingent on what they need at the time, which is, I think, spot on, which is why voters have short-term memory, because it's what they need. When it came to former Mayor Bill de Blasio, they needed $500 to take a vaccine. When it comes to Trump, they need America back. So you know what? We need New York City back. You're right. It's what they need at the time. So I hope we're right. I think, can it turn? Sure. And I think we've come full circle. What happened in 93 is very similar with what's going on right now. It's also quite interesting that at the time when Giuliani came, it was coming out of the Dinkins era, just a complete disaster the city was. And who was a mentor for these two idiots right now? David Dinkins for Cuomo and Eric Adams. So we're coming full circle here. There's no doubt about it. And what's a good prediction of the future? It's a reflection of the past. So again, I'll say it. If you like the way things went during COVID, if you like the immediate aftermath of COVID, if you like a criminal enterprise in New York City, vote Eric Adams. If you like what happened in COVID, vote Cuomo. If you want real change, start looking at the other candidates. Could Sliwa cut the mustard? I don't know. I don't think the Republicans are in this fight to win. Not at all. It doesn't seem like it. It seems to me they're just laying down and they're giving it to Cuomo or Adams. And back to where we were, nothing's going to change.
No, I agree. Sal says, everyone who has won mayor for 30 years was never a favorite and early on was not doing well. Same will happen here. Walden's road is tough because Cuomo got rid of third-party line, another beauty. Well, that's something that's actually being litigated as we speak. It's something that actually Jim Walden is litigating as we speak. He filed a lawsuit on that, and that was to basically control the candidates, right? To allow Al Sharpton and John Catsimatidis to control New York City elections because that's what they did. That's what it is. And so, yeah, I agree. I agree with you 100%. If you like New York City, the way New York City has been going the last 10 years, vote Cuomo or Adams or vote them both because you're getting the same thing. There's no difference there. Whether you or you pick, are you a Cuomo sexual or do you like bald black guys? Whatever one you want, that's who, because they're the same guy. They like this. They're like blowing with the wind. Or we could just bring in Mayor Wu. Let's bring in Mayor Wu. Let's see how Boston's faring. Let's see how Boston's faring. Maybe they could run de Blasio because he was a Boston Red Sox fan. Or if Adams loses, he could run there. If Cuomo loses, they could bring him in there. Let's see what Michelle Wu had to say recently.
My condolences and all of our thoughts are with the family of the individual whose life has been lost.
So somebody was running around Boston stabbing people. The police stopped him. He lost his life as a result of his own actions. And her thoughts and prayers were with him, the person that was stabbing people.
What has this world come to? Shout out to the chat here for bringing that up. But what has this world come to? That is sick. She should be saying, you know what? Thank you to our law enforcement. Thank you to that off-duty cop that saved the lives of our residents in Boston. But we're sorry for him? Really? How about we're sorry for the people that he assaulted and attacked in Boston? This is sick. But she's no different than Cuomo and Adams and these other maniac Democrats, socialists around the country. Bums. These people are bums. How do we vote them in? These people are crazy. These really are crazy people. I mean, we have a New York City council that debunked their own argument about why there should not be an NYPD gang database. This ideology is sick, and these are the people who are voting. That is the most insane speech I've ever seen by a mayor in my entire life. That makes the mayor of Chicago actually look good. She is insane. And you know what, Eric Adams? She's not black.
Question for you. Here's one question for you. Why do you think an elderly man has nipple rings, though? Like, seriously, this is something that bothered me. Like, you saw
Is he have two or one?
It looked like two. It looked like two barbells in his.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Through the, what do you think's going on there? Like, and same question about what do you think an elderly man has an ankle bracelet for? Like, what? Like, these things are weird to me. Like, they're both weird. Like, they're both weird dudes. Like, I wouldn't want to know what goes on in either of their bedrooms or what either of their fetishes are. I wouldn't want to know.
Well, according to Tanya Meisenholder, that's important that we allow different sexual orientations into the workforce. It's important that you understand their sexual orientation. We have to be inclusive here. I don't know. This seems crazy to me. First of all, I never wanted nipple rings. But I tell you what, if I was going to pick, you asked me, I'm sorry, you asked everyone, is it nipple rings or manklet, right? If I had to pick one right now, I'm going with nipple rings because at least, I don't know. I'm not going to wear an ankle bracelet. Absolutely not. To me, that's very feminine. I'll go with the nipple rings. I don't think I want any of them, but I'll go with the nipple rings. What about you?
I can't choose. I think that I think it's signs of deviant. Like if you were young and muscular and you still went out to Sound Factory and Limelight and you were walking around shirtless with your nipple rings, maybe I could be like, all right, the guy loves himself, he's showing off for the girls, whatever, But you're 60 years old, there's something weird going on with that, dude. There's something weird. Like
that's
strange. And the media didn't ask. Like the media never asked. So like that was definitely a real strange thing to me. Something I forgot to bring up, and there'll be links in the future episode, is there is a different political spin and there's a political change happening in New York City. A new political club. It's the first political club, I believe, in 50 years that has arose in New York City, filled with new faces and filled with rooms full of people. Donald J. Trump Republican Club, based out of Brooklyn. Membership's free. You could join. They're having monthly on-site in-person meetings. There are other payable options as well. We'll have a link. They're actually an affiliate of ours, but I'm a supporter. I'm actually a member as well. And I think you're seeing that there's a change happening in Brooklyn. Now, there are going to be Democrat speakers. They're going to be Republican speakers. They're going to be socialist speakers. They're going to come there. But they're really deep diving into the issues facing New York City. Definitely check them out. You could see them on Twitter as well. They retweet a lot of our stuff. We retweet a lot of their stuff. Donald J. Trump Republican Club, based out of Brooklyn, just opened up. It is the first new political club that has actually packed out rooms. Young people, people that are running for office that you're traditionally not going to hear about it on the media, as well as big names. Curtis Lee was going to go there. There's a lot of names that are going to come and speak, all the mayors and other things. So check out that. For now, you don't have to use our link, but in the future, we'll have that. This is it right here. It's at DJTNY Club on Twitter. There's links to the to go out and follow them. And like I said, you could sign up for free, and then there are more payable options, but they will be holding monthly meetings. Definitely something to check out wherever you fall on the political spectrum. I think you should check it out because I think the conversations are going to be interesting. They're going to mirror what this podcast does, as far as it's going to be an open platform for anybody to come and speak when they're running for office. We want to hear your thoughts, and we want to give people access to you to ask questions. So shout out to the Donald J. Trump Republican Club.
We're almost 2 hours into it. Like, share, and subscribe. I don't want to go down a complete rabbit hole because we did almost an entire 2-hour segment. But I just want to get your thoughts real quick because I just think it's hilarious. I mean, we watched a drama in New York City, but just watching the conversation with Trump, Vance, and Zelensky was hysterical. What'd you think about him wearing this little, because we're talking about manklets and nipple rings. So I just figured, what did you think about him in his button-down polo? What'd you think about that whole exchange?
Oh, well, he showed up. No, he showed up in his usual gear, he's acting like he's out on the front lines, but he's well manicured with his manicured eyebrows and his manicured beard. And he looks he looks pretty good for someone that's been in war for 47. I'm sorry, I don't know why I said 47, but he looks pretty good for a 47-year-old who's been in war for the last 2 years, basically on the front line. So, I mean, that stands out to me right off the bat. like the reasons I like Trump is he kind of reminds me of my father, and he reminds me of like the people that I like, and traditionally the people that I hang out around. Guys like Pat Donahue that they'll call you out. You know what I mean? So Zelensky rolls up. Trump's waiting for him. He steps out of the thing. He's wearing the same gear with his shiny new combat boots and his shiny new cargo pants and his shiny new Ukraine sweater. And he goes, "Oh, look, you got dressed up for me? You got dressed up for me?" And then he turns around. He's like, "Yeah, he got dressed up today. He got dressed." And I'm like, because it's like, that's what it is. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you show up dressed like this? Like, how'd you go to your wedding? Like, how do you dress when you go out? Like, what do you do what do you wear when you go out to dinner? What do you wear when you go out? You wear that when you go out to the show? Okay. And like, so it was a little funny moment, right? But I think what people aren't used to, and I laugh because I see people posting online and they're enraged about what Donald Trump did. And they're enraged by what JD Vance said. And I'm like, listen, this is America. You want to send your money to the Ukraine, go right ahead. But why are we giving you $350 billion? I'm not sending my money there. I sent my vote for Donald Trump, like what Tom Joyce said. That is what I voted for. That is exactly what I voted for. He's trying to broker a peace deal. And Zelensky has no cards. He's right. Zelensky's saying he needs this, he needs that. He wants more money. And Trump told him, that idiot gave you $350 billion. We're done. We're done here. If it wasn't for us, you would have got wiped out in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Does anyone think differently than that? Does anyone else think that? What are we fighting these wars for? And that's why I always knock these guys, these Republicans with their Ukraine pins. All the pro-Israel, all the pro-Israel politicians on whatever side they're on with their Israel pins. I'm like, dude, you would have been a great council person in Israel. You'd be a great state senator in the Ukraine. I'm talking about here. What are you doing for the people here? What are you doing for Marlon Bethel? What are you doing for the old lady that got robbed? I don't care how you feel about Israel. I want to know what you care about New York City. You're a New York City politician. You're a New York State politician. Don't tell me how much money you sent to the Ukraine. Because if you tell me that, you're not America first. You're not. If you are talking about Israel all day long on your social media platform, you're not a New York City politician. You're not an American politician. Move to Israel. Move to the Ukraine. America first. Anybody in New York City, you're a politician in New York City? New York City first. I'm not going back and forth on Palestinian or Israel or Ukraine or Russia. Let's make our own bed before we fix the world. But we will get involved in world conflict when it endangers our people and you're asking for us to send our children to fight your wars. When you're asking for our money to fight your wars. So yeah, shout out to Donald Trump.
I gotta say, you nailed it, brother. Spot on. And it's in the chat here too. Shout out to Stephen S. A couple other people. America first. I think that's the bottom line. When you analyze this whole incident here and this conversation they had and talk about Ukraine, I agree with you. America first. And if you're wearing a Ukraine shirt, I see some of these Democrats wearing these Ukrainian shirts. I think to myself, where do you want the money in this country to go? So you're for us sending all this money? What about America? I'm with you. America first. I think your monologue was spot on. Absolutely.
So, sorry for that rant, dude, but it's like
it's spot on.
I'm so annoyed and like I watch my family like basically like going against Donald Trump for this, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, I'm like, send your money there. I don't want to send my money there. Like, leave me alone. Leave the taxpayer alone. If you support the Ukraine, send your children there. Go send them there. I'm not. You come after our land. I won't send my kids. I'll go myself. I'm too old. I'll go on my own. I'll go sign up with a military contract. Like, I'm not. Don't send my kids. I like, you're not sending my kids. If it's something I believe in, I'll go do it. You know, if it's something you believe in, put your money where your mouth is, right? We got to send this guy more money? Are you kidding me? And he's walking in here manicured and he doesn't even have the respect. Put a suit on, for Christ's sake. You show up with your shiny combat boots on, like it's like political theater, dude. It's like when you watch Adams walk around with his NYPD hat or his FDNY hat or his all his embroidery. I'm the mayor, the mayor. It's the same shit. I see this little midget running around with high heels on, and he's like pretending like he's a warlord. Like, no, you're not, dude. You're taking all our money. Your people are dying. Let's go. Broker a deal. And still today, if you ask American people today, why are the Ukraine and Russia at war? Why did Russia invade the Ukraine? I'm not going to give you the answer. I know it. But do you? Because I ask everyone that they love the Ukraine. They have the Ukraine flags in front of their house. They have the Ukraine. And I get it if you're from the Ukraine. I understand. If you have family there, it's horrible. I don't support war. I don't want war. I don't want people to die. I don't want innocent children to die. I don't want innocent women to die. I don't want innocent soldiers to die. Because we're fighting the wars of the elitists. We're not even fighting each other. You know, there used to be this my father, 2 tours in Vietnam, disabled veteran. And you know what I saw? I used to watch my father go, the guy lived in hell and he suffered his whole life for it. And there was this old Vietnamese guy that used to come and by my house, and he would take all the bottles. And my father, all the time, would get all of our bottles, our plastic bottles, and bag them up for this old Vietnamese man to come and take. And I'm like, and I would always think, I'm like, how crazy is this? They threw my father in the middle of a jungle. They pitted these 2 people, these 2 cultures, these 2 nations against each other. The individual, the common man, right? Not the governments, the common man. They pitted these 2 and they sent them to kill each other. And at one time, my father would have probably hated that guy and shot him on sight, and vice versa. And now we are years removed from this political conflict, and they're neighbors. And they're living together. There's no hate there. And I'm saying, what are we warmongers for on any side? I'm like, when people are like, oh, you got to wipe people off the face of the earth, I'm like, time out. You lost me. Because you're just group identifying people and you're saying everybody's bad. And you lost me. And that's what we're doing. We've turned into a nation of warmongers on either side. Wipe them out. It's like, wait, what? Wipe who out? You're sitting in Florida taking the sun and you're telling people to go to war. You're sitting in Washington, D.C. getting fat and you're telling people you can't even do 5 push-ups or run a mile, and you're telling people you're ready to wipe them off the map. Get out of here. No. Get out of here.
No, you're right. That's a good point, John, that you put up, because a lot of times people have no idea what's actually going on with Ukraine and Russia. I mean, most of the people that are low informed think it's more about territory. I mean, they focus on what happened with Crimea being annexed, but there's a lot more to it. You're right about what was going on in Kyiv. You're spot on. And if they don't know, that's a shame. It's a shame they don't know, because look where this money's going. It's a lot of money, and they're wearing these shirts. It's like, what are you supporting here? Do you even know what you're supporting? And that's the sad part. And it kind of goes to what Sal says, right? Low information voter. The low information voter, when it comes to local politics, but low information voting also when it actually goes to what's going on in your country. How about America first? You're absolutely right. I'm with you. You, Stephen S., a couple other people said America first. I think that's the best slogan.
Last thing before we get out of here, what's your thoughts on the release or the propaganda release? Because I think we just gave Trump a pat on the back, but what do you think about the Epstein files, dude, before we get out of here? The release of that. You see idiot DC Drano, Benny Johnson, all these losers walking out with a binder. I got it. What'd you think about that? Because I was like, what is this? I took a picture of DC Drano holding the binder, and I posted on Instagram, and I put the Mickey Mouse Club. I'm like, is this real? I was like, is Pam Bondi a little in over her head? Because it's looking like it, dude. Like, what'd you think about the release of that?
I mean, I think it's funny because first of all, it's hysterical, but it's like, are these files legit? They bullshit. Like, I mean, we don't, you're 100% right. I think they're bullshit, but this is funny. You think it's bullshit?
I mean, it's like they didn't release anything new. So like I went online. A lot of people went online and like we just started smashing. I'm like, wait a minute, time out. You're saying you're releasing the Epstein files. Kash Patel said first day he's releasing that. There's another one, Jack Posobiec. Yeah, they said they're going to release the Epstein files first day, right? First day. Here we are, months in, the Epstein files aren't released, right? And now you see these idiot influencers, and I'm like, wait. So time out. The mainstream media is not getting it. The public has no access to it. And you give binders to these social media influencers who could utilize this to profit. So they could actually hide information. They might not read the information correctly. And by the way, none of these people are investigative journalists. None of these people post any original content. They take content from people like myself, you, Sal, and then they share it over and over and over again. And they're all part of like a little chat group where, they give you one video and everybody shares it and they all get millions and millions of views. And it's profiteering. It's not, and honestly, they tout these people as conservatives. I'd be hard pressed to believe that a lot of them are. I don't think so. And I think if you really went back into their history and things they said, I think you would agree with me. But that's neither here or there. But I'm like, that's not the release of photo. That's hooking your friends up for profit. So a few hours after a lot of people were complaining about it and saying how Mickey Mouse it was on all sides, like the right and the left were like, what the hell is this? Are you kidding me? You gaslighting us? Like, we know what gaslighting looks like.
That's what I'm saying.
And the left's a little better at it, And then they made it public. What they released, and what they released are nothing. When you go through the flight logs, you could barely make them out. You see Trump is on a couple of those flight logs. You see Cuomo's one of in the phone contacts. And I'm sitting here and I'm saying, I don't like it.
But John, don't you think most of this information had already been released anyway? I mean, they're making a big deal about this information being declassified. They already had this information. That's my point. That's why I think it's bullshit, because I don't think there's anything new. If there was something new, then it would come out. To me, this seems like it's deflection. Really, what's going on in New York City? This is complete deflection.
Yeah, but and then so S.E. Gittins, he says Southern District strikes again. I'm sorry, I'm not buying that the Southern District of New York is this corrupt organization. I haven't seen them do anything wrong. You're not getting me to believe that because they were prosecuting someone who took bribes and who ran a huge straw donor scheme. You're not getting me to believe, oh yeah, the Southern District's corrupt. Really? The same people that prosecuted the mob? Really? Are they? They're corrupt. So then who's in jail? Where are they? And it's the same thing when I look at Doge. I think what Elon Musk is doing is great. I think it's awesome. I think it needs to be done. Do I think there's some things I see that he's doing that I think he's making a little bit of mistakes, but that's natural. You're going to make mistakes when you take on any task. And I understand that. And I think they'll work through that. But when they start uncovering the fraud, I'm like, who's getting arrested for this? Who got fired for this? Who's ultimately responsible? Why are we sending a couple of $100 million to do transgender studies on animals overseas? Like, what's going on here? Why are we sending money to these not-for-profits that do absolutely nothing and utilize it to do things that the government can't do? And so, like, everyone's like, how's Trump doing? I'm like, listen, I'm happy I voted for him, but I'm not going to lie. The Epstein files I didn't like. The Doge thing I support, but I see some issues around it. And the Eric Adams thing I think was a huge failure that he didn't need to tag along. And Sal Greco, just on the Epstein file, he says they released what they always released previously. Trump's two blemishes so far is Eric Adams debacle and the Epstein file. Yeah, I agree with you, dude. I agree with you. And I don't love the Elon Musk thing. Everybody sent me an email. I don't like that. Like, come on, dude. Don't like. Look at the agencies as a whole and deep down. And when you see a problem, then go to the individual. Why are you going right to the individual saying, everybody send me an email? Who's reading all those? Come on. What do you have? 100 people on your staff? 40 people? What do you got?
Well, that's the
millions of emails. Nobody.
That's the point. Hey, listen, we're 2 hours and 10 minutes into it. Before we close out here, that's the bottom line. Do you think there's other files? Because this is nothing. Like, this is already stuff people know. It's like, oh, look at my binder. There's nothing in there. We already know this stuff.
I think 100% there's a lot.
Right?
I think 100% there's a lot. And then she released this info. And I don't think the gaslit worked because I think it was real Mickey Mouse. And now she turns it, oh, that's what the Southern District gave me. We're going to find out who it is and who didn't release the files, and we're going to fire them. Oh, so you're gonna fire some poor schmuck.
Exactly.
Who had nothing to do with anything. Who had absolutely nothing to do with anything, and then you're gonna gaslight him to the media that it's his fault. I'm like, I'm not liking how this girl's moving. I'm not liking it at all. I agree with you, Sal. I think those are his two biggest debacles so far. Tom Joy said Rogan Musk episode number 2281 is a must watch. I'll definitely check that out. I was planning on watching that, but yeah, check it out. I think Rogan does a lot of great interviews, a lot of great guests on, but watch for the gaslighting in them too, because I hear it a lot. I hear it a lot in there. And there's no problem with that, but just keep an eye open with both of them.
Yeah, I think Sal wrapped it up. I think he's 100% right. I think Sal nailed it today. Good. Honestly, I mean, I want to see what else is coming. If there's any other documents, this is nothing. Like, oh my God, we'll see, right? We'll see. This is wild stuff, but I think it's just complete deflection right now. Just more deflection and more distraction. Like, oh, look over here. Don't look at what's really going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. I think this was a good episode. You got anything to end before we went on? I know we went a little long today. We were going to end right on the Cuomo thing. Hood Mayor saying he's waiting forever. We talked a lot about Cuomo today. You just got to go back to the beginning of the episode. And again, I think he's more in the same. I don't see one difference at all between Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams. They're the same exact person. They were far left progressives in 2020, and now they're conservative, moderate crime fighters, and they're anything but fiscally conservative or competent individuals, in my opinion. So you will not get me to engage into this argument, Adams versus Cuomo. I put them in the same category. Two morons.
Guys, complete bums. That's why I said if you liked life before and during COVID, vote Cuomo. If you like life now with a criminal enterprise in New York City, vote Adams. I mean, honestly, that's where you're at. It sucked before, it sucks now. But this is insane that we're talking about this. But you heard it here. I think we gave a true perspective. We broke it down. So you've been with us for 2 hours and almost 15 minutes. Thank you so much, everybody. Check out Sal Greco, of course, 12:05 today. And, of course, Wednesday, our executive perspective. They got another good show coming for you. I think Rob Lukash and Ron Layson, they've been killing it doing the executive perspective. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. If you have a chance, you haven't watched it all, go back. There's 3 episodes so far. There's a pilot followed by 2 episodes, and they'll have one this week. Sal Greco, of course, puts a great spin on things. Check out Sal Greco. And with that being said, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for all the support. I appreciate your support. Has given me more strength than I've already had. God bless you, people. John, close it out, brother.
Yeah, that's it, fellas. So, and ladies, that's it. Thank you for being with us today. We had about 900 people live with us the whole time. Sorry for those we didn't get to in the chat. Please, if you could find it in your heart to donate to Eric's son, let's try to help Derek get back on his feet. Links are in wherever you watch or listen to this show. Links to the GoFundMe page. If you're going through hard times, we completely understand. If you could say a prayer, if you could share it out, whatever you could do, we appreciate it. We appreciate all the love and support from everyone, even some of our biggest haters. So, you guys really came out for us. We appreciate it. Yeah, I think rock on. And Wednesday, we're going to have New York City Council candidate for District 51, Jonathan Buthorn, United States Marine, retired NYPD sergeant, friend to both Eric and myself. He's going to walk us through his life, his career, why he's running. So check out Wednesday. Wednesday is going to be, will be on 8:05 at 12:05 today. The Sal Greco show will be on, and he's got Jason Scoop coming on. If you guys don't know who Jason Scoop is, Jason Scoop is a Joe Biden impersonator, but he's famously known for being a Donald Trump impersonator. He was just recently, I believe, threatened or possibly even assaulted by what the hell is his name? The dude that shot somebody, the actor, the two brothers from Long Island. Oh God, I'm drawing a blank. But he's all over the media. He's a big famous comedian personality. Why am I losing this guy's name? The brothers, the guy who shot someone on the movie scene.
Baldwin.
Yeah,
Baldwin.
He was just accosted by Baldwin. There it is. Yeah. Baldwin snapped on him. But that's Jason Scoop. He's gonna be on Sal's show. Check that out. Hysterical. Guy's funny as hell. So I'm looking forward to watching that show. So all right, guys. Wednesday 8:05. Find us on Unfiltered. We'll be back at you.
So this is a biblical moment. You know, when Jesus was on the cross, he said, God, forgive them, for they know not what they do. All these Negroes who are asking me to step down, God, forgive them. Are you stupid?
There's a handful of retired officers that don't live in the state that have a lot to say about the dream team, as I like to call it. All of a sudden, they retire and have a master plan on how to fight crime, but nothing to contribute when they were here. They want to come back and be part of the dream team. What can I say?
Law enforcement professionals dedicate their lives to serving and protecting our community. But who's protecting their financial futures? That's where Laidlaw Blue comes in. Our wealth management platform is specifically designed for the law enforcement community. Laidlaw Blue is a division within Laidlaw Wealth Management, run by retired New York City detective John McDermott. His status as a retired detective uniquely positions him to establish a deep connection between Laidlaw Blue and the law enforcement community. Our platform is easy to use and provides a range of financial services, including investment management, retirement planning, and insurance solutions. With Laidlaw Blue, you can secure your financial future and provide for your loved ones. Our team of experienced financial advisors understands the unique challenges and opportunities that law enforcement professionals face. We're here to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning and achieve your goals. Laidlaw Blue. Secure your financial future today. Book a meeting using the QR code displayed or call us directly on 888 901 Blue. That's 888 901 Blue.